taxes. There's no excuse. You've been loosed.
This is From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Each week, Janice shares her wisdom to enlighten, educate, and advance the culture in America today. Janice Pons is a mother, author, and free thinker, and your host for our podcast this evening. Now let's join your host, Janice Pons.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. Come on in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Janice Pons. I'm the host on this podcast, From Destruction to Dignity, Clinical Perspective, Spiritual Truths. Tonight, we're going to continue our journey that we have been on together, this specific path related to gaining a clearer understanding regarding our nation, how it's structured, how it's supposed to work, our beautiful flag behind me, this great symbol of the seal to remind us of the importance of praying for the president of this great nation. I am going to continue to talk about those 265,900,000 Americans who were identified as living paycheck to paycheck in 2024. About 78% of working Americans barely making ends meet. They're coming out of the woods. We got to keep praying for them. Yes, they're our fellow Americans. Listen, we know this. I keep framing things. I do this to frame it. 79% of Americans felt that the country was going in the wrong direction last year. And we made a loud statement, a mandate. We made it loud and clear in the election that we wanted something different. And boy, are we ever getting it. I've repeatedly asked who needs to be the leader of this country. I think we know who is. Does it matter who's in the White House? Yes, it does. Well, that determination has been made. Donald John Trump is our president. And tonight we're going to examine something related to our nation. There's a lot of discussion going on in our nation. It's just kind of staggering to me what he was able to accomplish in less than 30 days. How has President Trump accomplished so much in such a short period of time? I believe that we can say job well done, as he has had much political resolve. From a clinical perspective, we're going to look at the role of goal setting, because he has resolve, but he had to know how to set goals in him accomplishing what he has done in so short a period of time. So let's frame some things regarding what he walked into. The Democratic Party and the mainstream media were falsely putting Project 2025 on President Trump and how he was going to destroy the nation with Project 2025. It was part of their manipulative messaging. On Kamala Harris's website, I saw it several times and I was sending people to it. And the news, the mainstream media news, they were working hand in hand with their false narratives. They were actually saying that he was going to destroy Black America. I went to a quote unquote black church last year, and that's what they had newspapers handing them out to all the black folk in church about how it was Trump's Project 2025, and the focus of it would be to destroy Black America with with Project 2025. Yeah. So Kamala even said that he was going to take away birth control from Americans. I've read it with my own eyes. Many believe the lies, yet now blinded eyes are opening, and now they understand. You know, I always say wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, but in all thy getting, get understanding. See, the lies that we were told, what was said to us in that campaign, even up to now with the mainstream media, it's the furthest thing from the truth. And the truth is being revealed. While they talked about that, they refused to tell us about Agenda 2030 that Barack Obama yoked us to in 2015. The Biden-Harris thrust that agenda at an entirely other level. Yes, they did. When you hear the word Agenda 2030, it's all about global cohesiveness and us flowing together with a global agenda. Well, it sounds noble. It sounds good for the world. But It weakened us as a sovereign nation. And moreover, it was driven by manipulation and control. Everything that we've been subjected to, from the targeting of our children with sexual indoctrination in the public schools to illegal immigrants who had been convicted of kidnapping and homicide walking our streets, was a part of Agenda 2030, because there was so much that was orchestrated that weakened our nation and our sovereignty and our safety, that made us subject to players telling us what we could and could not do. Going back to 2020, we couldn't even go to church. People were in parking lots, and old people getting arrested for even showing up in a church parking lot. Oh yeah, telling how we had to stand apart, the whole 9 yards, and only to find out that the mask really didn't even work. That's what Anthony Fauci said, who has been pardoned by Joe Biden. I want to know why. Now, with this Agenda 2030, where all these illegal immigrants, we're not against immigration, but come in the right way. So they were brought in across the border, which I might add, and I'll probably repeat it again, since President Trump has been inaugurated, the illegal crossings on the border has decreased 94%. And as my best friend Brenda said, stop playing. Stop playing. Oh yeah, the man's not playing. 94%. That's my clinical mind that goes, as evidenced by what? How is he doing a good job? As evidenced by what? 94% of illegal crossing across the border at Mexico is gone down by 94%. Listen. I'm framing some things here. Stick with me. We have been paying for the health care, the housing, the food, child daycare, free money card of illegal immigrants with our taxpayer dollars, while 78% of Americans, working Americans, were living paycheck to paycheck, could barely make ends meet. All of that did not happen by chance, guys. No. It was part of a global agenda to bring this nation to its knees. However, that plan, what was unfolding, that we were just supposed to get on board with, it was not good for the sovereignty of our nation. In the first 30 days of President Trump being in office, we have realized that we have only seen the tip of an iceberg. Oh yeah, in less than 30 days of him being inaugurated, maybe making an assessment about the golden age may be premature. I've seen people all tripped out about Elon Musk and what he's doing and what J.D. Vance is not doing. Many people are totally clueless about the biggest picture. You have this little microscopic look of scope. You don't understand big picture. You don't understand systemic operations. They don't understand some don't understand strategic planning, scope, and how systems intrinsically work. I was so blessed to see J.D. Vance, Vice President J.D. Vance, and Marco Rubio, our Secretary of State, when they were having a meeting with the President of Ukraine, Zelensky, about ending the war. Yeah, let's keep that covered in prayer. It was powerful. You have to understand the biggest picture to even grasp what's being addressed. In less than 30 days, we've gotten an outstanding start. We're well on our way past 30 days, but we've gotten an outstanding start. There are strategic methods to unearth what has been perpetrated upon this nation and we the people. Listen. It's easy to get distracted by small details and forget about the biggest picture. It's absolutely necessary for us to understand what has been going out from a financial perspective and what's been coming in. A grasp of expenditures is absolutely necessary because it was so totally out of control. You can't run any business, any household, without knowing what's going out and what's coming in. So people were getting all tripped out when he wanted to put a freeze and he had to figure out the absolute mess that he walked into. That's what you would do if you came in and were told to run a company. That's what you would do if you all of a sudden in charge of paying the bills in a household. Come on, let's use some common sense. This man walked into a debacle, a mess, and he had to figure out what was going out and what was going in. So that is what the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, D-O-G-E, Department of Government Efficiency, has been focused on, guys. So here's the question. I got a question. Was that long overdue? Why? How do we know it was long overdue? I'm still framing some things here. I would rather look at what President Trump plans to address and give it more than 30 days, more than 60 days. He's already gotten the ball rolling, totally turning the country around. The average American has absolutely no clue where we were headed as a nation. Under Agenda 2030, our Constitution would be totally ignored. That they were doing it anyway. And even under the Obama administration, it was being ignored. The Department of Justice, I remember when he told Eric Holder we were no longer going to even recognize DOMA, Defense of Marriage Act. And we just went in a totally new direction. We know where that's taken us. That was a law that was put in place by the legislator. His job in the executive branch was to enforce the law. Their job in the legislative branch, the executive branch, is to enforce the law. The legislative branch is to make the laws. The judicial branch is to interpret the laws. So, Obama yoked us to Agenda 2030 in 2015. Commitment to it. I had somebody telling me, no, this all started under Clinton in 1992. Obama took us to another level of commitment in 2015. Do you look it up? I do my research. So under Agenda 2030, our Constitution would be totally ignored if that agenda was allowed to go unchecked. And we would be under the control of the United Nations and the World Health Organization. Who? What did Donald Trump see? The man is a strategist. He knows what he's doing, guys. Pray for him if you think he doesn't. He's loosed us from that yoke. That's a huge part of what COVID was connected to. There are those who they didn't care about people losing their lives. People earned money as a result of C-19. They got rich. They were making money for people being put on ventilators. That's all coming out. Additionally, all of those dynamics fed into things perpetrated in 2020 and the election. That's coming out. Actually grasping all the details involved would actually set people free. To acquire that level of freedom, you have to embrace basic logic and deductive reasoning. That's what our fellow Americans are being challenged with. They're not using basic logic and deductive reasoning. It's like, hello, anybody home? It's like they're blinded. It's like if you look on my Facebook page, Janice Pons on Facebook, you'll see I got that visual. People's heads are in the sand. Blinders, liberalism, blinding them. Oh yeah, totally misled. Got chains and shackles on their minds that need to be broken off. And that's why we pray. And that's why we're patient with people. And that's why we engage. And my motto on social media is what would happen if we talk to and with each other versus at each other. Oh, yeah. The enemy of our souls is fighting tooth and nail that people don't use basic logic and deductive reasoning. Now, President Trump, in his campaign, he made 20 core promises, which were on his website before the election. And you know what gets me? What is so amazing is that all 20, in less than 30 days, all 20 were in full motion of being addressed. Now, let's use some basic logic and deductive reasoning to come to some clear-cut conclusions. It's not about what I think or feel. It really isn't. We're going to look at facts. Now, Here was his promise to seal the border and stop the migrant crime. He has some of our troops on the southern border, and direly needed intervention is now directed at the northern border. Because of the bargaining power of tariffs, Mexico's president put, listen guys, 10,000 Mexican troops on their side of the border to address the issue. The new U.S. Border Patrol chief said that the number of illegal migrants stopped coming across but he said it's astonishing. 94% decrease since January 21st, a day after the president was inaugurated. And human trafficking and drug smuggling has already been affected. I can't wait to analyze those numbers. I'm going to give it a minute. Oh, yeah, you know I'm going to be talking about it. As evidenced by what? What's the observable? My clinical mind clicks in all the time. What's the observable, measurable behavior that we know the trafficking, the human trafficking, and fentanyl, in particular, particularly fentanyl, how do we know it's better? And I might add, for my fellow Black Americans, do you know the number one group in the nation that has the number one number of deaths with the fentanyl overdose? Black Americans. My passion is working with addiction and mental health. That's my licensure. But I'm on here as a citizen. I'm on here as a citizen, but I can't help but to refer to some issues, behavioral health issues that are ravaging our nation. And yes, there are some that are very specific to Black Americans. And I don't mind talking about it because y'all running around here wrapped up in your emotions, being offended and listening to people like Jamal Bryant calling Black people that support President Trump runaway slaves. Oh, if we run away, that means we left the plantation. So what does that say about those that didn't leave? Are you still slaves? What are you saying? Lord Jesus, help you. Help you. Causing division in the nation, and the man is helping us. So, we got a border czar in Canada now. Oh, yeah, that part. And now they don't have all their troops on the border, but they have a border czar, and they have drones patrolling the border in Canada. To God be the glory. Oh, yeah, God's into borders and boundaries. So, what was his second promise? Carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. Remember, his priority was getting convicted criminals out of here who were here illegally. I'm sure you know about the Venezuelan gangs who had taken over apartment complexes in Arizona. Never forget the criminals who were convicted of homicide and kidnapping. What were they doing? They were roaming our streets. Do you hear me? They were roaming our streets. And the Biden-Harris cabal brought them in. If someone's convicted, guys, does that mean what? It means they're guilty. And a jury or judge ruled regarding their legal standing of what they had done. Can American citizens do that? Can we roam the streets freely if we've been convicted of homicide and kidnapping? You know we can't. They'd have us in some holding place until you got sent off to McAllister somewhere here in Oklahoma. But that's what the president and vice president were doing. The Biden-Harris cabals. And they had a catch and release policy that allowed people to roam free for up to 15 years. I was blown away when I found that out. What was the third promise that President Trump had? End inflation and make America affordable again. That's a process. That's not going to happen in a month. But one key thing that he has done is that the Keystone Pipeline has been fully open. There's only one area that will make that's just one area that's going to majorly affect our economy. The tariffs will result in other countries building their factories here. I've already seen them talking about they're going to build here. Companies from Canada, Japan, several others. They said, we're going to build here. No terrorists. And then now we'll have amazing jobs here. It takes a minute for this stuff to unfold. This man is strategic. He knows what he's doing. The terrorists are going to result in other countries building their factories here and Americans getting high-paying jobs. You can't get that stuff done in a couple of weeks. It's going to take a minute. Oh, yeah. So let's hang in there. We've done good for 30 days, 1 month. So what was the fourth promise? Make America the dominant energy producer in the world by far. So what did he say? Drill, baby, drill. Drill that black liquid gold. 2 weeks before Biden left, you know what he did? You know what that man did? He signed an executive order to ban the drilling of 625 million acres of land. Conversely, President Trump signed an executive order targeting restriction on drilling, mining, and logging in Alaska. This covers about 625 million acres of federal waters, as well as the 19 million acre Arctic National Wildlife Refuge and the 23 million acre National Petroleum Reserve in Alaska. That's our land. Oh, yeah. What was his fifth promise? Stop outsourcing, rather. Stop the outsourcing. We got resources. He says we're going to stop this outsourcing and turn the United States into a manufacturing superpower. That is going to be inevitable. It already started happening during his first term, and the liberals were livid and disrupted the entire flow by what they did in 2020. Guys, 2020, up to him getting in there, everything was orchestrated. Everything was orchestrated. His sixth promise: large tax cuts for workers and no tax on tips. And to God be the glory in the House, and it needs to pass through the Senate. No tax on tips. No tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security benefits was passed in the House. And guess what? Not one single Democrat voted for it. Not one. And you know what? Doesn't surprise me. It fits in with their history of not one single Democrat voted for the 14th and 15th Amendment. See, that kind of stuff makes your eyes open up. Y'all better wake up and smell the coffee. Oh, yeah. Do you smell it? Because that's, you know what that says? The Democrats don't give a rip about you. They don't give a rip about the working American, hardworking Americans. They don't give a rip about the disabled. They don't give a rip about our senior citizens. As evidenced by what, Janice? They voted no. You know what? They want that taxpayer dollars coming in. It gives them more to work with, and subsequently, see what had been going on in the past? Money ended up in their pocket. That's a whole nother podcast, and I will dissect it. Look, President Trump has even talked about getting rid of the federal income tax. We got to walk it out. That man knows some business. He knows what he's talking about money. But this stuff is not going to unfold in 2 months, 3 months. We are going to have so much money as a result of other flows of income, but it's not going to happen in a few weeks. What was his seventh promise? Defend our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, our fundamental freedoms, including freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and the right to keep and bear arms. Regarding freedom of speech, I can't wait to see his 5-point plan to totally obliterate censorship. And I might add, we still being fact-checked. That was a lie. I'll deal with that later. Getting rid of censorship, that 5-point plan, I did a podcast on it a month ago or so. Look it up. It's doable and it's powerful, and it's very revealing. You better believe it's already laid out, the 5-point plan. We're going to have a digital Bill of Rights. Do you hear me? That man ain't playing. Here's another goal, another promise, which turns into a goal. He said, I want to prevent World War III. Oh, yeah, restore peace in Europe and in the Middle East and build a great Iron Dome missile defense shield over our entire country. All over America, they did it in Israel. We can do it here. It's an iron dome over Israel and is very effective. He was involved in the specifics regarding the hostages being released in Israel, which is an ongoing process, as well as the ceasefire in Gaza between Israel and the Palestinians. He hates it when people die. He talks about that. Anybody that really takes the time to hear that man's heart, it really will bless you. Y'all need to get out of this hatred. You've been lied to. Been lied to. John 8:44, Satan's the father of lies. The truth has never been in him. If he's talking, he's lying. Y'all been lied to. I'm talking to you. Yeah, I'm talking straight to you. I care about you and love you. I love you enough to tell you the truth, because it's the truth that's going to set you free. The rest of us, we're going. Baby, we're going to the mountaintop. We invite you to go with us. You know what he's addressing? The war in Ukraine. I believe it's going to end. Now, it remains to be seen what happened to all that money that we sent over there. There have been some reports that the president of Ukraine didn't get it. We'll walk it out. So if all that money didn't get there, where did it go? You better believe Trump is going to find out. Now, here's another promise he made. In the weaponization of government against the American people. The half hadn't been told regarding what they've done to this nation. It's diabolical. These people that Trump is getting rid of are part of the perpetration that was targeting us in a very evil way. Far too many lives were lost. They didn't care. They had a global agenda. That was part of it. What was another promise? Listen, I'm laying out the facts and I can back it up with facts and data. Oh, yeah. He said he wanted to stop the migrant crime epidemic, demolish the foreign drug cartels, crush gang violence, and lock up violent offenders. The illegal immigrants who are criminals are being deported, and law enforcement will be respected again. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Lord. What was another promise? He wanted to rebuild our cities, including Washington, D.C., making them safe, clean, and beautiful again. I was so blessed when he had all those beautiful people during Black History Month in the White House, and he announced that there's going to be a beautiful garden that's going to be made with all these beautiful statues and icons of famous Americans. That's going to be beautiful wherever that is. And a lot of them are going to be Black Americans who've contributed to the establishment of our great country. For all of you to think he can't stand Black people, you're being deceived and duped. You need to open up your blinded eyes. What's another promise he's made? Strengthen and modernize our military, making it without question the strongest and most powerful in the world. We were well on our way under his first term, with us even having a new branch, Space Force. What an embarrassment that it was when the Biden-Harris administration cabal left billions of dollars of our military equipment in the hands of terrorists in Afghanistan. They showcased those weapons, our trucks, our tankers in a parade in August 2024. What a sheer embarrassment. What is his other promise that President Trump made? Keep the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency. We are even expanding with cryptocurrency. I saw Eric Trump posting about cryptocurrency. What's the man's name? Patel. Yeah. He was the director of FBI. People, guys, y'all need to wake up and talk about that's a part of the new world order, baby. You need to do some research, because I'm telling you, there are going to be some new millionaires in our nation. I plan to be one of them, because I know how to be led by the Spirit of God to have kingdom money to establish his will on this earth. And it has to be financed. Trump has always been involved in financing. And when I hear them people say, he's racist, he don't like Black people, I can give you story after story after story about how that man spoken to people's lives, minorities' lives, and blessed them with money. That's who he is. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. There will be many, many millionaires in our nation. Yeah. And I'm going to say this. If he had his way, Donald John Trump, all of us would be millionaires. Y'all can sit up there and, as Jamal Pastor Jamal Bryan saying the black folk that support Trump that we runaway slaves. Y'all can still be on that plantation if you want to, but baby, we've escaped and we're going to be successful. Spirit, soul, body, soul, mind, will, emotions, intellect, drive, and desires, and finances. What was his other promise? He said he was going to fight for and protect Social Security and Medicare with no cuts, including no changes to the retirement age. What was Kamala Harris telling us? He's going to get rid of Social Security, a lie from the pit of hell. And he was trying to, the Democrats voted that he didn't want Social Security benefits to be taxed. They voted no. We wanted to be taxed. Tax the old people who have paid into the system. I paid into that system over 50 years. Do you understand me? Y'all got to open your eyes and deal with logic and deductive reasoning and connect the dots because you've been lied to. Oh, yeah. Now, cancel the electric vehicle mandate. Cut costly and burdensome regulations. Oh, yeah. Cut federal funding for any school. He already took care of that about the electric vehicles in an order. Cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory. Radical gender ideology, other inappropriate sexual, racial, political content for our children. They're not supposed to be focused on learning sexual acts and specifics. I've talked about those things in the past, about what they would focus on in our schools. Radical agendas clumped all under the dynamics in one package. Talking about DEI. Baby, it was the I that was attaching it on to everything else. That's how we got hijacked as a nation, and our children got hijacked. Grown people can do what they want to do, but it's these targeting of these babies that I'm not going to hush about. Keeping another promise, keeping men out of women's sports. Executive order done. Deport pro-Hamas radicals and make our college campuses safe and patriotic again. Already deporting them, done. Ongoing process. Secure our elections, including same-day voting, voter ID, paper ballots, verification that you're a citizen. The election in 2024 was characterized by integrity and being closely monitored. The shenanigans of 2020 did not occur. And the last goal, the last promise that he had, which was a goal, unite our country by bringing it to new and record levels of success. Put your seatbelt on, because it's going to happen. This can't happen in a few weeks. Intellectual honesty lets us know that we were in a diabolical tailspin, and it's going to take some time. Oh, yeah, it's going to take some time. What they did to us as a nation, and as we the people, was staggering. Blinded eyes are opening and continuing to open as we the people grasp a clear understanding of the biggest picture. Now more than ever, we're going somewhere, and it's expecting us when we get there. Leadership with backbone makes a difference. If we get intellectually honest, my fellow Americans and my brothers and sisters in Christ, we can clearly see how we were on a path of sheer destruction, and now we're on a different path to dignity, from destruction to dignity. The name of this podcast. As a nation, we're accomplishing goals. We're different now. So, from a clinical perspective, in order to achieve the levels of success that our president desires for our nation, he had to have a mindset of setting and accomplishing goals. So do we. That's how I operate. That's how I run my department at work. And that's how I run what God has called me to do. What does that involve? Why is it important? Let's examine some things together quickly as we wrap this up for tonight. It's going to make a difference. It already is. To accomplish goals. You can break them down into actionable steps. Track your progress and celebrate your successes. What would happen if we did this as a nation? Actually set goals. What if we taught our children to think that way? Suppose we taught children in children's church to think that way, and we put all of our children on a structured, and our households on a structured, strategic way of approaching things. What would happen if we had goals that are called SMART, S-M-A-R-T? Our goals: S for specific, M for measurable, R for realistic, and T for time bound. Boy, I'm telling you guys, I've walked this stuff out in treatment programs. But this is just common sense, guys. Everyday common sense, learning how to think a certain way. What would happen if we prioritize making sure that our goals align with our values and our priorities? What would happen if we create an action plan? That's what he does. That's how he thinks. He creates action plans. What would happen if we break goals into tasks, create a list of specific actions to take to achieve our goals? What actions are going to be required to get to those goals? What would happen if we set deadlines, assign a deadline to each action? This is a way of thinking. It's a strategy. What would happen if we create a timeline? When you want to complete each task. What would happen if we track our progress? You see where we're going? You see how we're going somewhere and it's expecting us when we get there? What would happen if we evaluate our plan, use our tracking to see how well we're doing, evaluate what's going on, adjust if we need to? What would happen if we adjust the plan if it's needed? Use your tracking to determine if you need to change something. What would happen if we celebrate our successes? What would happen if we acknowledge our progress? Take time to recognize our accomplishments, no matter how small. What would happen if we stay motivated? I'm with some motivated people, baby, and we're going to impact this nation. You hear me? Oh, yeah. We're celebrating our successes. Staying focused and motivated. What would happen if we visualize and picture our success? Imagine what it would feel like to achieve our goals, guys, my fellow Americans, my brothers and sisters. We're talking about embracing an entirely new way of thinking as a powerful, united front in our nation. Can you see why the enemy of our souls has tried to divide and conquer us? In Mark chapter 3, verse 25, it says that a house divided against itself cannot stand. In 1 Corinthians 1, verses 10 through 13, it says, the Apostle Paul said he was encouraging believers to walk in love and agreement, and that there be no divisions among them. I respectfully submit that what we have examined tonight can assist us in getting focused on the same page to improve and help our nation. Oh, yeah. What have we looked at tonight? Uniting to accomplish goals, having a job well done, political resolve, and our clinical perspective has been the power of us setting goals and considering actually how meeting our goals can literally change our nation for good. Listen, we're going somewhere. It's expecting us when we get there. Can you tell that I'm excited? I'm too far out in the deep to turn back. I trust God. I'm praying for President Trump every day. You can go on my Facebook page. You'll see the scriptures that I said that I want us to focus on in Ephesians chapter 1 and Ephesians chapter 3 and in Colossians in the 91st Psalm. God watches over his word to perform it. I happen to believe that. There are millions of others that do as well. Listen, we love our country. Why? We're one nation under God, indivisible. There are some of us, we so locked together, you will not divide us. And we're going to make a difference. We're going somewhere. It's expecting us when we get there. Keep coming back. I appreciate you. Thank you for sharing the podcast. All those venues out there with the podcast platforms. Gosh, 1,200% increase, a growth of the podcast last year in 2024. To God be the glory. Thank you. Listen, God bless you. I love you. I'm praying for you. I'm interceding for you. Oh, yeah, I call my audience out by name. Yes, I appreciate you. God bless you. I love you. I'll see you next week. Good night.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Janice's mission is to provoke thought, bring awareness, and point people towards intervention when needed. As a reminder, this show is not therapy, but for educational purposes only. For more information, check out JanicePons.com or follow her on social media.
We are one power, strength is ours, liberty, been set free, education, affirmation, dedication, information, revelation.